बिहारी जय गोपी जना वल्लभा गिरिवरधारी जय गोपी जना वल्लभा गिरिवरधारी यशोदानंदन व्रजजन रंजन यशोदानंदन व्रजजन रंजन यमुनतीरावनचारि यमुनतीरावनचारि जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे राम हरे राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा कृष्णा हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा कृष्णा हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा कृष्णा हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा कृष्णा हरे 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 राम राम हरे हरे जय राधा गिरिधारी राधा गिरिधारी राधे जय जगन्नाथ जय बलदेव जय सुभद्रा जय गौरनिताय जय गौरनिताय प्रभुपाद जय प्रभुपाद जय गुरुदेव जय गुरुदेव जय श्रीपाद परमहंस परिव्रजकाचार्य अष्टोत्तर श्री ऐसी भक्ति वेदांत स्वामी श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की जय नामचार्य श्री हरिदास ठाकुर की जय प्रेम से कहो श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद की जय श्री राधा गिरधारी भगवान की जय श्री जगन्नाथ बलदेव सुभद्रा मैया की जय श्री गौर निताय की जय निताय गौर प्रेमानंदे हरि हरि बोल। All glories to the assembled devotees, Hare Krishna. All glories to the assembled devotees, Hare Krishna. All glories to the assembled devotees, Hare Krishna. All glories to the lotus feet of Sri Guru and Sri Gauranga. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. All glories to Srila Guru. Srila Prabhupada Leela Amrita ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Okay, so we'll continue reading from chapter 22. I'm presuming everybody can see the screen and hear me. If not, let me know. Otherwise, I'll continue. Of course, whether they would be able to persevere in Krishna consciousness despite the ever-present attractions of Maya would be seen in time. Some would fall. That was the human tendency. But some would not. At least those who sincerely followed his instructions to chant Hare Krishna and avoid sinful activities would be successful. He gave the example that a person could say that today's fresh food, if not properly used, would spoil in a few days. But if it is fresh now, to say that in future it will be misused and therefore spoiled is only a surmise. Yes, in the future, anyone can fall down. But Prabhupada took it as his responsibility to engage his disciples now. And he was giving them the methods which, if followed, would protect them from ever falling down. Aside from Vedic standards, even by standard of Swamiji's New York disciples, the devotees in San Francisco were not very strict. Some continued going to the donut shop, eating food without offering it to Krishna, and eating forbidden things like chocolate and commercial ice cream. Some even indulged in after kirtan cigarette breaks right outside the temple door. Some got initiated without knowing precisely what they had agreed to practice. Kirtanananda, quote, "The mood in San Francisco was a lot more relaxed. The devotees liked to go to the corner and have their coffee and donuts. But Prabhupada loved the way so many people were coming. And he loved the program at the Avalon Ballroom. But there were two sides. Those who strictly followed the rules and regulations and emphasized purity, and then those who were not so concerned about strictness, but who wanted to spread Krishna consciousness as widely as possible. Swamiji was so great that he embraced both groups. Michael Wright, 21, had recently gotten out of the Marine Corps, and Nancy Grindle, 18, was fresh out of high school. They had met in college in Los Angeles. Feeling frustrated and in need of something tangible to which they dedicate their lives, they had come to San Francisco to join the hippies. But they soon realized that they and the Haight-Ashbury hippies, whom they found dirty, aimless, unproductive, and lost in their search for identity, had little in common. So Nancy took a job as a secretary for the telephone company, and Michael found work as a linesman for the electric company. Then they heard about the Swami in Haight-Ashbury and decided to visit the temple. It was an evening kirtan, and the irrepressible hippies were twirling, twisting, and wiggling. Michael and Nancy took a seat on the floor off to one side, impressed more by the presence of the Swami than by the kirtan. After the kirtan, Prabhupada lectured, but they found his accent heavy. They wanted to understand. They had an innate feeling that he was saying something valuable, and yet the secret seemed locked behind a thick accent and within a book written in another language. They decided to come back in the morning and try again. At the morning program, they found a smaller group, a dozen devotees with beads for chanting draped around their necks, a few street people. The kirtan seemed sweeter and more mellow, and Michael and Nancy chanted and danced along with the devotees. Then Prabhupada spoke, and this time they caught a few of his ideas. They stayed for breakfast and became friends with Mukunda and Janaki, Sam and Marjorie, now Samsundar and Malati, Yamuna and Gurudas, and Govindadasi and Gaurasundar. They liked the devotees and promised to come again that evening. Soon, they were regularly attending the morning and evening programs, and Nancy, along with the other women, was attending Prabhupada's weekend cooking classes. Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Prabhupada Lilamrita ki jai. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. नारायणं नमस्कृत्य नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरयेत्। नष्टप्रायेषु भद्रेषु नित्यं भागवत सेवया भगवते उत्तमश्लोके भक्तिर्भवति नैष्ठिकी। श्रीमद्भागवतं पुराणममलं यद्वैष्णवानां प्रियं यास्मिन् परहंस्यम् एकम् अमलं ज्ञानं परं गीयते। तत्र ज्ञानविरागभक्तिसहितं नैष्कर्म्यमाविष्कृतं तच्छृण्वन् सुपठन् विचारणपरो भक्त्या विमुच्य नराः भक्त्या विमुच्य नराः भक्त्या विमुच्य नराः। ग्रंथराज श्रीमद् भागवतम की जय। Canto 4, chapter 29, text 23 to 25 today. So there are 3 verses we are covering. अधयो व्यधयस्तस्य सैनिका यवनाश्चरः भूतोपसर्गाशूरयः प्रज्वारो द्विविधो ज्वरः एवं बहुविधैर्दुःखैर्दैवभूतात्मसम्भवैः क्लिश्यमाना शतं वर्षं देहे देही तमो व्रतः प्राणेन्द्रियमनोधर्मान् आत्मान्याध्यस्य निर्गुणः शेते कामालवन्ध्यायन् ममाहम् इति कर्मकृत्। आधयो विधयस्तस्य सैनिका यवनश्चरः भूतोपसर्गाशूरयः प्रज्वारो द्विविधो ज्वरः एवं बहुविधैर्दुःखैर्दैवभूतात्मसम्भवैः क्लिश्यमाना शतं वर्षं देहे देही तमो वृतः प्राणेन्द्रियमनोधर्मान् आत्मान्याध्यस्य निर्गुणः शेते कामालवान् ध्यायान् ममाहम् इति कर्म कृत्. Somebody would like to read? If you don't want to do all the 3, you can just do the first one if you want, or you can do 3 as you choose.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, I am trying.
Sure.
Adhayo bedhayastasya sainika javanascharaha bhutopasarga suraya prajyaro divido jaraha ebang bahuvido dukkhoy daiva bhutatma sambhavoi क्लिश्यमाना शतं वर्षं देहे देही तमो वृतः प्राणेन्द्रिय मनोधर्मान् आत्मनि अध्यस्य निर्गुण शेते कामो लवान्ध्यायं ममाहमिति कर्म कृत्. हरे कृष्ण.
Krishna Prabhu.
हरे कृष्ण प्रभु दंडोत प्रणाम.
And Pranam Prabhu.
आदायो व्यादश्च तस्य सैनिक यवनश्चरा भूतौ सर्गेषु राय प्रजवरो द्विविधो जरः एवं बहुविधैर्दुःखैर् दैवभूतात्मसम्भवैः क्लिश्यमान शतं वर्षं देहे देहि तमोवृता प्राणेन्द्रिय मनोधर्मम् आत्मनि अदस्य निर्गुणो शेते कामलवन् ध्यायं ममोऽहम् इति कर्म कृत्. हरे कृष्ण.
हरे कृष्ण प्रभु जी.
Yes, Pradip.
आधयो व्याधयस्तस्य सैनिका यवनाश्चरः भूतपोसर्गासुरयः प्रज्वारो द्विविधो ज्वरः एवं बहुविधैर्दुःखैर्दैवभूतात्मसम्भवैः क्लिश्यमानः शतं वर्षं देहे देही तमोवृतः प्राणेन्द्रियमनोधर्मान् आत्मन्याध्यस्य निर्गुणः शेते कामलवान्ध्यायन् ममाहम इति कर्म कृत. Hare Krishna.
Beautiful.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, Dandavat Pranam. I am also crying. अधयो व्याधयस्तस्य सैनिक जवनश्चरः भूतोपसर्गशूरयः प्रज्वारो द्विविधिजरः एवं बहुविधैर्दुःखैर्दैवभूतात्मसम्भव वै क्लिश्यमानः शतं वर्षं देहे देहि तमोव्रतः प्राणेन्द्रियमनोधर्मान् आत्मानि अधयस्य निर्गुणः शेते कामलभान्धायान् ममाहम् इति कर्म कृत. हरे कृष्णा.
Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji, Dandavat Pranam. Please. Adhayo vyadhayastasya sainika eva nascharaha bhutopasargasurayah prajvaro dvividho jvaraha evam bahuvidehi dukhair daiva bhutatma sambhavahi kilashyaamana satam vrisham देहे देहि तमोवृतः प्राणेन्द्रियमनोधर्मान् आत्मयाधस्यस्य निर्गुणः सेते कामलवान्ध्यायन् ममाहम् इति कर्म कृत. Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Krishna. Thank you, Prabhu. Thank you, Mataji.
Hare Krishna.
We'll look at the word for word, but before that, I would really like to appreciate all the devotees who thus recited. Normally, for Bhagavatam class, the speaker has to induce people to chant, but in this forum, the devotees are so enthusiastic that even 3 verses they want to chant. So thank you so much, and it's almost like a pattern now.
Thank you.
This encouragement is required amongst the association of devotees. Thank you, Mataji. Thank you, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
Adhayaha, disturbances of the mind. Vyadhayaha, disturbances of the body or diseases. Tasya, of Yavaneshwar. Sainikaha, soldiers. Yavanaha, Yavanas. Charaha, followers. Bhuta, of living entities. Upasarga, at the time of distress. Ashu, very soon. Rayaha, very powerful. Prajvaraha, named Prajvara. Dvividaha, 2 kinds. Jwaraha, fever. Evam, thus. Bahu vidhaihi, of different varieties. Dukkhahi, by tribulations. Daiva, by providence. Bhuta, by other living entities. Atma, by the body and mind. Sambhavaihi, produced. Klishyamanaha, subjected to sufferings. Shatam, 100. Varsham, years. Dehe, in the body. Dehi, the living entity. Tamaha vritaha, covered by material existence. Prana, of life. Indriya, of the senses. Manaha, of the mind. Dharman, characteristics. Atmani, unto the soul. Adhyasya, wrongfully attributing. Nirgunaha, although transcendental. Shete, lies down. Kama, of sense enjoyment. Lavan, on fragments. Dhyayan, meditating. Mama, mine. Aham, I. Iti, thus. Karmakrit, the actor. Okay, this is a slightly long translation and a long purport. So I need help of devotees to take us through. Somebody would like to start off with the translation, please?
May I, Prabhuji?
Sure.
Translation by Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. The followers of Yavaneshwar, Yamaraj, are called the soldiers of death, and they are known as the various types of disturbances that pertain to the body and mind. Prajwar respects the 2 types of fever, extreme heat and extreme cold, typhoid and pneumonia. The living entity lying down within the body is disturbed by many tribulations pertaining to providence, to other living entities, and to his own body and mind. Despite all kinds of tribulations, the living entity, subjected to the necessities of the body, mind, and senses, and suffering from various types of disease, is carried away by many plans due to his lust to enjoy the world. Although transcendental to this material existence, the living entity, out of ignorance, accepts all these material miseries under the pretext of false egoism, I and mine. In this way, he lives for 100 years within this body. Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare
Thank you,
Krishna.
Mataji. Hare Krishna. Somebody else would like to read the purport, maybe the first paragraph.
Hare Krishna. Yes, Mataji, carry on. Hare Krishna. Purport by Srila Prabhupada ki jai. In the Vedas, it is stated, Asanga Ayam Purusha. The living entity is actually separate from material existence, but the soul is not material. In Bhagavad Gita, it is also said that the living entity is superior energy, and the material elements, earth, water, fire, air, and so on, are the inferior energy. The material elements are also described as bhinna or separated energy. When the internal or the superior energy comes in contact with the external energy, it is subjected to so many tribulations. In Bhagavad Gita 2.14, the Lord also says, Matra sparshatu kuntya shito ushna shukaduka daha. Because of the material body, the living entity is subjected to many tribulations brought about by air, water, fire, extreme heat, extreme cold, sunshine, excessive eating, unhealthy food, maladjustments of the three elements of the body, kalpa, pitta, and vayu, and so on. The intestines, the throat, the brain, and other parts of the body are affected by all kinds of disease that are so powerful that they become source of extreme suffering for the living entity. The living entity, however, is different from all these material elements. The two types of fever described in this verse can be explained in contemporary language as pneumonia and typhoid. When there is an extreme fever in the body, there is typhoid and pneumonia, and they are described as prajvara. There are also other miseries created by other living entities. The state extract taxes, and there are also many thieves, rogues, and cheaters. Miseries brought about by other living entities are called adhibhautika. There are also miseries in the form of famine, pestilence, scarcity, war, earthquake, and so on. These are caused by the demigods or other sources beyond our control. Actually, there are many enemies of the living entities, and these are all described to point out how miserable this material existence is. Hare Krishna.
Knowing the basic misery of material existence, one should be induced to get out of the material clutches and return home, back to Godhead. Actually, the living entity is not at all happy in this material body. Because of the body, he suffers thirst and hunger and is influenced by the mind, by words, by anger, by the belly, by the genitals, by the rectum, and so on. Manifold miseries encircle the transcendental living entity simply because he desires to satisfy his senses in this material world. If he simply withdraws from activities of sense gratification and applies his senses in the service of the Lord, all the problems of material existence will immediately diminish. With the advancement of Krishna consciousness, he will be freed from all tribulations, and after giving up the body, he will go back home, back to Godhead. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Om Jnanatimirandhasya Jnananjana Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Preshtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Jaya Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Srivashadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So it's beautiful purport by Prabhupada, most explained everything very clearly, but we'll try to see some of the important points from the verse and the purport, and how Prabhupada very nicely concludes at the end that at the end of the day, after receiving all that information, what should be the goal for us. So here in this verse, and I'll not do recap as such, previous speakers have already done this. So we know that in the last few chapters, Narad Muni was telling King Prachina Barhishat about a story. So he was giving the message in the form of a story, just like we have, Jataka tales or Aesop fables. Sometimes, rather than telling directly, you tell the form of story. But then after telling the story, sometimes people understand directly, fast and easily. But sometimes even after telling the story, if the message is very important and very powerful, then whoever is explaining this or telling the story has to explain the meaning of the story and put it very directly for better understanding. So in this chapter, Narad Muni is now doing that. In one way, he's kind of decoding the allegory so far that he has been describing. Now he's giving the details of what this represents and what is the impact of that aspect that has been mentioned in the story form. So this particular section, we started from text 21, right? So if you remember, there was a chapter called the city was attacked by Chandaveg. So in chapter 20, in text 21, Narad Muni is explaining about Chandaveg, or powerful time, Kal, and how the living entity influenced under this Chandaveg, he is suffering. So how is he suffering? So yesterday, Savitri Mataji talked upon the aspect in text 22, which was Jara, or old age. So how is time acting? Time is acting by old age. And this particular verse, we could say the general central theme of this verse, as you would have guessed it, since we've read the purport and translation, is about disease. So Vyadhayas, the second word in the text, Adhayo Vyadhayas. So this Vyadhi is also under the influence of time, acting in this material world to make us realize. So all this old age, disease, they are, for a person who does not have the knowledge, he will see them as impediments to his sense enjoyment. Because I'm diseased, I can't eat well, I can't do this, and he laments. Same thing when somebody grows old, they start lamenting. So when somebody turns 50, normally people rejoice and they want that person to enjoy more, because at that age, it is assumed you have money, you have a good job, your family is well set, children have grown up. So now you have got a lot more free time. You have got money, and it is assumed that you will be in good health. So people congratulate, there's a big party, and now the intent is that now you can do more sense gratification because your duties have become less, children have grown up, you're settled in life. Now you just enjoy till you leave, enjoy. Now, after 50, obviously old age strikes, right? the body is aching, the tooth is aching, and the joints are aching, head is reeling. So the person has the ability and money to enjoy, but the body, the health is not cooperating. So that health becomes an impediment to his sense gratification. So he gets fearful, he gets worried, he gets stressed. Similarly, as he progresses in age and he sees, hair fall, nowadays hair doesn't even wait till 50. The hair fall starts before. See my example. And the hair starts graying even before one turns 50. We remember that story from Ramayana, right? How Dasharath, when he looked at himself in the mirror, he saw one strand of white hair. And looking at that, he thought, what? Now it's time for me to retire and hand over the kingdom to my son. Nowadays, if you go by that example, maybe at the age of 22, somebody has to retire because, after any age, people can gray, any age, hair can fall. So this is the environment we are living in, and it's becoming worse day by day. So for a materialist, old age and disease are impediments to sense enjoyment. And that's why they become fearful. They try to counteract those things by trying to stay young, although they are growing in age and bodies slowly not cooperating as it was before. But still they want to push it, they want to force it, and they want to enjoy it. And they get frustrated. So this is the situation. So in the first part of this translation, Narad Muni is mentioning that the followers of Yamaraj, obviously who are they? The soldiers of death, Yamaraj. So they are known by the various types of disturbances. So the death comes in the form of, the death sometimes comes suddenly, but usually it comes in the form of disturbances. So there's a lot of disturbance, and it prepares you, it makes you miserable, this, that, and ultimately the soul leaves the body to take another body. So there are many ways it happens. And one of the ways is mentioned, or as Narad Muni had mentioned before, is the high fever that precedes death. So the fever here is mentioned that it could be high fever, which leads to extreme heat, or it could be fever which leads to extreme cold. And the two examples given here is typhoid and pneumonia. Right? Both, I think typhoid is more of a bacterial disease where the body temperature suddenly shoots up. And obviously it has to be treated, otherwise it can become quite dangerous. So that's just one of the ways that the soldiers of Yavaneshwar or Yamaraj engulfs a living entity. And then even before that, it is said that the living entity, while it is in this body, so here the word here given here is dehe dehi, that this dehe in this body, the dehi, the living entity or the spirit soul in this body, they are subject to klishyamanaha. Klishyamana means a lot of suffering. So this body has been given to us. Why? Because of our desire to enjoy. But the deal is you want to enjoy, you have the desire to enjoy, so you're given this body. But the deal is this body is only going to give you what? Dukkha. Krishyamanaha. It is only going to give you vyadhi. It is going to give you adi bhautik, adi daivik, and adhyatmik kleshas. Anyway, as soon as we are in this material world, we have got a body, 7 miseries are accompanied. And yesterday Mataji used that word package deal. Very nice. So the living entity, as soon as it develops the desire to lord it over material nature and enjoy, 7 things are nicely packaged. and put together when this body is given for enjoyment. And obviously we know all of that: Janma, Mrityu, Jara, Vyadhi, and the three Adi Dukkhas. And the three miseries also, if you think about it, Adi Adhyatmik, Adi Bhautik, and Adi Daivik. So as we are aware, Adhyatmik is what? Our own mind, right? Our own body, our own mind. The gross and subtle body is giving us dukkha. And out of the body and subtle body, which one gives us more dukkha? Subtle body or gross body? What do you think?
Subtle.
Subtle body. And in the subtle body, which one is the source of the problem?
The mind.
The mind. Exactly. The mind. It's the mind. So if you think about it, Adhyatmic misery, actually, most of it generates from the mind. And then we come to Adi Bhautik, which is what? Misery is given by other living entities. Now, if you think about it, actually Adi Bhautik and Adi Daivik, these miseries are there. But somewhere or the other, the source of those two miseries is also Adhyatmic. Why? In the mind, we have the desire to enjoy. We have a desire to extract, to exploit, to lust. We have this lusty feeling in the mind. The desires come to enjoy more. Now, to enjoy more, because we are so lusty, we are wanting to even break the laws, the rules, commit sinful acts, and do whatever is required to be done to enjoy. Now, obviously, when we break the rules, when we are acting sinfully, we are impacting other living entities, other human beings, or whatever it is, killing other animals. So obviously, those other human beings who have been wronged by our side, there'll be a reaction from them. Of course, it is not always the case. I agree to that. But somewhere or the other, we are also responsible in one way. In Hindi bolte hain na, tali ek haath se nahi bajta, dono haath lagte hain. So somewhere we are responsible in our interaction and the miseries we face from other living entities. And likewise, because so much sinful activities is being committed, nature, Mother Nature, which is Adi Daivik, Mother Nature also reacts. So we just blame that, earthquake or tsunami is there, what to do? The Devatas are giving us so much misery. No. Devatas, they don't get joy just giving us miseries for no reason. We are responsible for our impious acts, for our exploitative nature, by which we are abusing Mother Nature. And Mother Nature has to respond appropriately. So that response comes in the form of Adi Daivik kleshas. So these miseries are packaged. They are part of this deal when we get this material body. And it is said that normally in Kali Yuga, the lifespan is 100 years. And we know, obviously, that's reducing as we progress. Even in people are so proud of technological advancement and many other things. But from a gross and a subtle body perspective, things are getting deteriorated. People's mind, people's intelligence, instead of high thinking, is becoming low thinking, is it not? And same thing, instead of being a healthy body and surviving for a long time, healthy, living for a long time is not a big deal. But living healthily and being able to do all our activities and staying active, even if it is not that long, is a better quality of life. So there is a verse that says, Anayashe maranam bina dainina jivanam dehi me kripaya Krishna toi me bhaktim achanchalam. That if I have to die, I should just die like that, like suddenly. And I should not be a burden on anybody at the time of death or before I give up this body. And if you really have to give me something, Krishna, Dehi me Kripaya Krishna, give me your mercy, in the form of giving unmotivated and directional, motivational, devotional service. Please give me devotional service unto you. So this is the prayer that a living entity always gives or prays for and petitions Krishna. So this is an important aspect. But why, first of all, why should we know, everybody knows the problems, everybody knows that we go through this, everybody knows that this body is a problem. Then what are we doing about it? Are we still trying to enjoy, or are we not trying? Are we doing something? Or are we still thinking, oh, maybe it's in a default mode. Let me just do the best I can and just forget about it. So I was talking about materialists being very afraid and fearful of old age and disease. What about devotees? Do devotees not have old age? Don't they get old? Don't they have diseases? So they also should be fearful, right? And if somebody is not in the right association of devotees, is not having a strong sadhana, somewhere or the other, even if they are following some form of devotional service, they are still fearful. Yes or no? With Jara and with Vyadhi.
Yes, Prabhu.
Yes, of course. That is the truth. So although we understand that, yes, a devotee, so we are not yet there. We are trying. We have got the knowledge, the right knowledge, and we have got the right process. But how surrendered are we to follow the process? And how surrendered are we to the instructions to change our lifestyle is the important part. So just by chanting, starting to chant and doing some service and doing some sadhana doesn't mean that suddenly we become fearless. The fearless is at the end of that process. When we are sincerely dedicated, then automatically it happens. We don't become fearless, but we are given this quality of fearlessness. So this is an important aspect here, that what is the difference? Why are we still, what are we doing about it? And that is the whole purpose of this verse, to understand the problems, to understand why these problems are with us, to understand that we are in this body, although we are not the body. But there is only one thing, it's a very simple thing, but it's the most important aspect, and it's not easy. It is simple, but not easy. Why have we got this body? And even after we have got this body and we know the problems, why are we not able to become serious? What is it? What is that one thing? Just one thing, small thing, but very important, very powerful.
Our desire.
Yes, 100%, Mataji. Our desires. Our desire. Can somebody forcefully take away our desires from us?
No.
Anybody?
Only death.
Only?
Death.
Only. Well, death also does not take away desires.
Yeah.
The desires are still there in the subtle body.
Yeah.
And at death, the subtle body carries the soul from this body to another body. So technically, the desires are still there. And even at death, they cannot be taken away. So you see how powerful the desire is? It's so powerful. Even Krishna does not interfere. I mean, he can. He's all powerful. He's a source. But he doesn't interfere. If you have good desires, so be it. If you have bad desires, so be it. Krishna gives us the ability to choose our desires. So it is up to us to misuse or use it properly. And it all comes down to that. So here, because of our desires to enjoy, we develop that attachment that, oh, it'll be so nice, I just want to enjoy. What do you mean by enjoy? That I want to ensure that my senses are gratified. I just want good things to happen. I just want to see good things. I want to smell good things. I want to hear good things. I want to only hear good things about me. This is where it all comes down from. So we develop the desire to enjoy. We develop the desire to become attached to things so that we can enjoy. It ultimately comes down to enjoyment, because we feel we have this wrong notion that I can enjoy independently. And forget spiritual world, even in the material world, you see, can we really enjoy on our own? Like just us, imagine that we are in a place, maybe in a big palace, and the palace has got everything, the best of foods, the swimming pool, perfect climate, AC, all good beds, furniture, everything. Everything is there. You don't have to go out. In fact, if you want something or desire something, immediately it will pop up. But there is no other person there. No servants also. Everything is there at your disposal. Will we be able to enjoy?
No.
No.
We can't. In fact, one of the reasons Arjun gives in chapter 1 and chapter 2 is what? That even if I win the kingdom by killing all these people who have assembled here, who will I enjoy this kingdom with? Because my family is all there, they'll be killed. So for enjoyment, I need to share. I need somebody else to enjoy with. And that feeling also comes from Krishna himself. Krishna does not enjoy alone, although he can. He's Atmaram. But he never wants to enjoy alone. His enjoyment is increased manifold when he is with his associates. We are part and parcel of Krishna. So our enjoyment, when we want something to feel good, only happens when we are around people who we like to be with, who we like to associate with, our friends, relatives, family, whatever it is. So the enjoyment, even in this material world, is not independent. It is dependent. Some people might say it's interdependent. Of course, that's also right. So how can we think that I want to enjoy only for myself? It is not possible. That's a wrong notion. So you can only interact with somebody, or you can only have a good time with somebody when both are doing something for each other, trying to serve each other. Even in the material world, I'm saying, not devotional service. Then the relationship continues. But we see that when somebody stops, one person stops serving, then the relation is broken. However strong the friendship may be, however strong the relationship may be, it will fail. So the same concept is there in bhakti also. When we associate with devotees, associate means we serve the devotees. So here, instead of thinking, this is for me, this is my attachment, I'm lusty to enjoy, I have so many material desires and I want to fulfill them. And we struggle hard to fulfill them. And because we are struggling hard to fulfill our desires and enjoy, what happens? As a default, because we are stretching ourselves too much, we are exerting our body, we are exerting our subtle body just to enjoy. We are abusing the body. And because we are abusing the body, we become attacked by diseases. So disease does not come to us just like that, because they have nothing else to do. Okay, let us go and attack this person. It doesn't happen like that. So we, in one way, are responsible for the diseases. Of course, there are certain things that develop over a period of time, but even medical experts would agree that in the modern times, most of the diseases are developed because of our faulty lifestyle. And it is getting worse as days pass. And if you think about it, 30 years back, 50 years back, 60 years back, none of these fatal diseases were there, right? If somebody was told this person has a stroke or heart attack 60 years back or 70 years back, people used to think, oh my God, he's a rich person. So he's got some very exclusive disease, which needs exclusive treatment, but not for common men. And now this is common. Everybody is affected by it. Anybody can say that they don't have stress. Anybody, whether it's a devotee, whether it's a non-devotee, everybody has stress. That's also part of the package now. And we are in one way responsible for it as well, because we are so attached. We are so passionate about doing things and worried about the result so much that it produces stress. And because we are not able to manage the stress, it manifests itself as diseases. And one such disease given here is the Prajwara fever, which is typhoid and pneumonia. And then ultimately, if the disease can be treated, the symptoms are treated, but the source is never treated. The current form of medicine, the allopathy medicines, is only treating the symptoms. It is not treating the source of that disease. So after the medicines are there, the disease is suppressed, but the lifestyle does not change. So the disease comes up again, it relapses. And then after a few relapse, what happens? The body has had enough. Bahut ho gaya bhai, enough. Ram naam satya hai, finish. So this is the typical story of a materialist who is here in this material world because he wants to fulfill desires, and ultimately he dies, fulfilling maybe some of his desires, and the rest of the desires, next body, next body, next body, next body. So all this Krishna consciousness process Krishna is telling us and Prabhupada has given us is that we just have to manage our desires. So instead of desiring, we all want enjoyment. We can never do without enjoyment. We all want to enjoy. But we have to understand, I can only enjoy with somebody else. And I can only enjoy if I'm enjoying with the right person. Because anything that I want to enjoy on my own will only be temporary. And it will come to an end. But what is it that I want to enjoy with that does not have an end? Who is it that I can enjoy with who will not desert me? Who is it that I can please without that person being too demanding and also experience enjoyment? So these are the questions so people should ask. An intelligent person asks. And then we understand there is that nice verse in Chaitanya Charitamrita which says, Atmendriyo priti vancha tare bole kam, Krishnendriyo priti ichha dhare prem naam. That at the end of the day, the desire for sense gratification is kam or lust. And the desire for gratifying the senses of Krishna is prem. Simple. So we just have to turn it around. So instead of trying to enjoy for my senses, can I serve Krishna by serving his devotees? Can I serve Krishna in his obviously deity form? How can I serve devotees better so that they become happy? They become pleased. And when they become pleased, how do we feel? That pleasure, imagine some pleasure we experience when we got something. It stays for some time. Definitely we like it. But when we give something to somebody and that person has a smile on their face, we have got nothing. Just a smile. Now that smile, that face, that impression stays in our mind for a much longer time and makes us a lot more fulfilled and happy than when we get something. Is it not? That's why it is said that we should give. Even as childhood, the culture is, we were told is you should give, you should give, you should give. There is more joy in giving. And the same thing is that there is better or more joy in giving and giving to the devotees because the center of that relationship is Krishna. And that's how we please Krishna's senses. And that's how by engaging in that process and practicing that process every single day, we want to come to the point where now we are not having any desires, or we have minimal desires for ourselves, maximum desires to please Krishna or follow the instructions of Guru and satisfy Krishna's senses. So we can make progress. And ultimately, if we are in that path, then old age and disease For a materialist, they are impediments. For a devotee who is sincerely following devotional service, these two things become what? They become good friends. Why? Because when a devotee turns 50, he is not worried about sense enjoyment. I have to enjoy more. What is a devotee thinking? He is thinking, how can I enjoy Krishna's senses more by engaging in more intense devotional service? So old age becomes an impetus, gives devotee a push for more devotional service. When they get affected by any diseases, they want to fix the source and they want to take it as a signal, a warning signal that death is not far behind. And a materialist is horrified about death. A devotee is not worried about death. Why? Because death is only leading him one step closer to Krishna. And that thought, that feeling makes him fearless. So that is the real purport of Abhayam that is said. And Prabhupada has given us this wonderful program to constantly remind ourselves that we are in this material, miserable world. We do as minimum as required to keep the body and soul together. The rest of the time, devote to following the instructions of the Supreme, of the spiritual master. Associate with devotees and have these wonderful sanghas where discussions are constantly taking place. Knowledge is being exchanged to inspire one another to stay closely connected with Krishna in the association of devotees. And this will make a devotee free from jara, free from vyadhi, and ultimately help the devotee conquer death in a way that Krishna wants us to, because the eternal world is not here, it is there. So this is the entire purport of why this Chandavega theme has been discussed, and how Narad Muni is slowly telling Krishna Barhishat that he should start forgetting his fruitful activities or fruitive activities and engaged in bhakti to achieve the ultimate destination. Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Nitai Gaur Premanande. Okay. Anybody wants to add something? I'm sure there are a lot of other points around it.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, Dandot Pranam.
Hare Krishna Prabhu.
Such a beautiful explanation of the three texts. Just as you mentioned, the connecting points is the source of diseases. As you mentioned about this enjoyment. In enjoyment, you need two persons, yourself and the other side. And that enjoyment, when it is not connected to Krishna, then it becomes source of diseases. So one turns around the impediment and one turns to impetus. Thus the two things actually carries out to select the end of life. So these two things are very prominently explained by you. As we have seen in Arjun case, he was lamenting how he is going to enjoy after the victorious moment. But he could foresee that if there is nobody in the opposite side or a companion, is not going to enjoy. Similarly, in the association of devotees, these things get curtailed and we becomes more and more connected with Krishna. And that is what gives us the impetus for betterment of life, real enjoyment with Krishna. And that gives us the source of Abhayam. And that way the life becomes more peaceful rather than becoming fearful towards the death. And that message is carried out through these three verses. And your explanation on this so nicely mentioned that how the things are going on in this modern life. People are getting stressed, and stress becomes a part of disease. Thank you so much. Hare Krishna.
Wonderful summary as always.
Thank you.
Okay, any other points to add?
Hare Krishna Prabhu, Dandavat Pranam, Hare Krishna.
Prabhu.
Thank you very much for the very nice class as usual. Just only two things to tell on this one. The human body has got to broadly two things or two aspects. One is the spiritual, as you told, Deho and Dehi. But often we neglect the Dehi. We are more concerned with Deho. There lies the real problem. Because we forget even happiness. Happiness, the source of happiness is the Lord Krishna, the Akhila Rasamrita Sindhu. From him everything comes. But we think independently we can do that. And that is the root of all problems it starts from. And you have very nicely explained that. Thank you for that. And even on that point also, people forget even if we look a bit deeper about our situation, as Prabhupada in one case has given a very nice example, and it will be too big just to tell that even what we have been given, the Lord can take away any moment. So that is also temporary. We forget it often that we are getting it because Lord has given us. The moment he is Rishikesh, and he can take it away any moment. He was giving the example when he was visiting, I think, Madras. He was telling he has gone to Madras and he has seen our president, ex-president Radhakrishnan there. He has lost all his senses and all. I mean, everything he was telling. Even he has to give in a food by someone. So he is telling, what is your power for presidency? Everything has gone. Everything has gone. And now if someone gives you food, you can eat. And if he doesn't even give you, you have no even capacity to tell, I don't have food. That capacity is also taken away. So that happens to us. We forget that when we are in possession of this power. We forget that it is given by the Lord and it can be taken away any moment. So if we just think of that, then our spiritual, and that comes, you have very nicely told, only when we remain in company with devotees. They remind us every moment that whatever you have is come from the Lord. And you remember the Lord, and in this way you will be happy, and not by the way, the default way that the people are moving in this world. So very nice. Thank you for that, for kindly bringing out this essential point of that we are responsible for our own trouble or the sufferings. And the moment we understand that, we turn toward Lord, our miseries also come to an end. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhu. Hare Krishna. Okay, any other comments or points? No. Okay, 33.
Yeah, it seems no other person.
Prabhascha kripa sindhu eva cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Ananta koti Vaishnavrinda ki jai. Suhrit Krishna Prabhu ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Gaur Premanande Hari Hari Bol. All glories to assembled devotees. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.